Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Today I'm sharing the cards I made using Spellbinders January 2022 Card Kit of the Month. For a couple of the cards I'll also be using their January Embossing Folder of the Month, and this is one of their brand new clubs. I did receive the large die of the month, but I'll use that in a separate video. I will have links provided in the description box if you are interested in any of the products I use in this video. So let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. I'm using a card sketch for inspiration. This is by Freshly Made Sketches. It's number 501. And if you are interested in any of the card sketches I show in this video, I do have all of that information on my coordinating blog post. That link is provided in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. For this first card, I have some fun polka dot paper for the background, and it has gold foil polka dots, so it's really pretty. I'll be adding some XO pattern paper for that larger rectangle. I have some plaid paper for the background, and I'm adding a couple of Love from Lizi peel-offs along the edge of that plaid or gingham paper. Put some ATG tape on the back and layer this panel on some pink cardstock. The kit does include several sheets of colored cardstock, but I'll also be bringing in additional cardstock since I add quite a few layers to my cards. Next, I'll add the XO pattern paper to the center. And I won't be following this sketch exactly. I'll be changing that skinny little strip that's on the left and instead adding one of the die cut pieces. The die cut has 3 separate little pieces you could separate, but I decided to keep them together. I put some double-sided tape on the back to make sure they stay together, and I'll also be popping them up using some thin foam squares. In the upper right-hand corner, underneath the 022 Forever, there is a small little rectangle that could also be punched out, but I made sure to keep that in there with that double-sided tape on the back. And I'll just adhere it in place in the upper left-hand corner. I don't always show it in my videos, but I like to add this thin strip of the pattern paper on the inside of the card, just for a little extra decoration. And I'll add 2 of the die cut pieces. I have a floral wreath, and I meant to adhere this before I put that little banner piece on the left. So luckily I was able to pull it up and tuck in that wreath. Then I'll add the sentiment die cut piece using some of the foam squares that are included in the kit. This is I love you truly, madly, deeply, forever and ever. And I'll just adhere that on top of the wreath. For a few finishing touches, I'm adding a couple of mini heart peel-offs in the gold color, putting 2 of the smallest size to the right of the sentiment. I'll also add a few of the sequins that are included in the kit. It's a beautiful color that has an iridescent finish. I'll put 1 in the lower right-hand corner and 2 in the upper left-hand corner. I'm using an embellishment wand to pick those up, adding a drop of glue and then pressing them in place with the opposite end of the embellishment wand. Just give them a little extra pressure to hold them in place. And there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The pattern paper that's included in the card kit is so pretty. There's lots of lovely pinks. For card design number 2, I have a fun pattern paper for the background that has lots of dogs. There's also some tiny hearts and stars. I'll layer that piece on some black cardstock. I'll put my card front onto a card base, leaving that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. I also have some pattern paper that's a very light blue or teal color that has tiny little white hearts. And I cut that out using a stitched oval die. Just adhere that to the center. Didn't want to cover up too much of the background paper with the little dogs. Then I pulled out several different die cut pieces. I have 2 of the dogs. There's some balloons with hearts. I have the sentiment happy moments, and also 2 of the little circles with the paw in the center. And a few of those pieces have some gold foil on them. I'll pop up all of the pieces using an assortment of foam dimension. Some of it's really thin, and then I also have the thicker dimension that's included in the kit. Overall, a very simple card. I love all those cute images and the fun sentiment. To finish off the card, I'll add a couple of gem stickers in the Gold Mix color by Spellbinders. They're not included in the kit, but I love using their bling. I'll also add a little bit of sparkle using a clear glitter brush from scrapbook.com. I put it on all the heart balloons and also the little girl's pink bow. So there is my finished card, and again, I did make 2 using this design. For card design number 3, this is a very simple card featuring my favorite pattern paper in the whole pack. It has these beautiful pink flowers on teal, and there's lots of gold outline all over that pattern paper. So I really didn't want to cover up much of that design. I'm layering it on some solid cardstock. Then for the sentiment, I'm using one of the glitter foam sentiment stickers. I'll be adding the word smile, just removing the inside from some of those letters. So these are nice since it's a sticker, there's already adhesive on the back side. And since the dot for the eye is so tiny, I am using a drop of liquid adhesive just to make sure it won't fall off later. Then to finish up the card, I'll add a few of the sequins from the kit. Put 1 underneath the sentiment and 2 in the upper left-hand corner. Very, very simple card design, but that background pattern paper is just stunning. I did make 2 different cards, and since there's only one of the word smile, for the second card I used the word hello. It's always good to have uplifting or general sentiments for cards. For card design number 4, this is a really fun card sketch. I've used it one other time and it's so easy to use. It looks complicated, but it's really easy. This sketch is by Sugar Pea Designs. It's their Sugar Sketch number 44. For the background, I have 2 different pattern papers, and I find it easier to just fill that full background even though you're going to cover it up. I have a little gap between the 2 pattern papers, so I'll just add a Love from Lizi peel off. This is a pretty green glitter color, and I only need a teeny tiny piece. Now for that angle piece, I cut it 3.5 inches wide, and then I just left it the full 6 inches. I'm holding it in place, then I flip over the panel, use my scissors, and trim off the edge. So now I have the correct size of that paper. If you want that piece on a matted cardstock layer, you would adhere that down first, but I decided not to use the cardstock. Instead, I'll be lining that leaf pattern paper with some Love from Lizi peel-offs. I'm using the gold moondust color in the pinstripe style. This is the narrowest width. I'll put one along the very edge of that leaf pattern paper. I have a little extra hanging off the end, but I'll use my craft knife to trim that. I'm basically mitering the 2 pieces together in the corner, and then I'll just remove that extra piece. And then at the very edge, I'll just cut it flush so you can still see that background cardstock layer. Then instead of this circle as indicated on this sketch, I'll be adding one of the die cut pieces. Well, it's actually 2. There's a square that has a fun gold frame, and then there's a heart that's separate, but I decided I'll be adding both of them. I don't want the pattern paper showing through that opening, that heart opening, so I did put some white cardstock on the back side first. And I used the cardstock that's included in the kit for the card bases. I don't generally use the actual card bases that come in the kit. Instead, I use them for sentiments or backgrounds, since I prefer to have 120-pound cardstock for my card bases. I did put some scrap cardstock on the very right side of that square before adhering it in place, just to keep it nice and level. I put some thin foam squares on the back side of that punched out heart and offset it to the right so you can still see a little bit of the white heart cutout showing through. For the sentiment, I'll be adding the die cut Love You, and I'll attach it right on top of that heart. I did put some of the foam squares on the right and left side. and then glue in the center so everything was at the same level. For a final finishing touch, I'll add a couple of the mini heart peel-offs. These are by Love from Lizi. Just put 2 of them above the sentiment. So there's my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. This is definitely one of my favorite cards, but do let me know which card is your favorite. For card design number 5, this is another Sugar Pea design sketch. It's number 3. I have some fun pattern paper for the background that's covered in cute tiny pink envelopes, and some of them have a teeny tiny heart. I'll be adding a strip of the pink, white, and gold polka dot paper at the very bottom. Then I also have some tone-on-tone pattern paper. It's this pink color. I used a scallop border die to add a little extra detail. I'll add some gold peel-offs along the edge of the polka dot paper using the narrowest width. For the lower portion that's next to that scallop, I have a full strip going across. But on this top area, I was able to use some of the smaller scraps since it'll be covered up by the circle. So I wrap the ends around the back, put some ATG tape on the back of this panel, and layer it on some cardstock. And this is fun cardstock. It has a pearlescent finish on one side. It's by Basil. I know the name is Atlantis, and I use it all the time. For this sentiment, I'll be adding it to a stitch circle die cut. I already have the sentiment all set up in my mini MISTI. This is Sending You Love. I'm using the Polished color by Catherine Pooler. It matches the pinks really nicely. It looks really dark in the video, but it does lighten up as it dries. So I'll adhere that in place. And I have one of the die cut pieces, the pink envelope that has the sentiment for you, and it has a teeny tiny little gold heart. Put that in the lower right hand corner. Then I'll also put a couple of stitched banners in the upper left hand corner. One with a solid pink color and the other with that same pearlescent green cardstock that I have for the background. I did add a very small scrap piece of cardstock to the right side of the pink banner before adhering the green banner, just to keep everything nice and level. Then to finish up the card, I'll add a few of the sequins from the kit. Put 2 to the left of the sentiment and 1 in the lower right hand corner. So there's my finished card, and again I did make 2 using this design. For card design number 6, the card sketch is from Freshly Made Sketches. This is number 507. I have 2 different pattern papers, and I'll be layering them on some burgundy or maroon colored cardstock. I love this pretty floral paper. It looks like a bunch of wildflowers. So I'll layer both of those pieces first, and the background is a very light, almost a tone-on-tone pattern, sort of a light pinkish color. I'll put my card front onto a card base, leaving that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. The measurements I provide on the card sketches are for the pattern paper. Then I add an additional 1/8 of an inch for those cardstock layers. Unless I want a wider cardstock matting, then I'll add a 1/4 of an inch. In place of those circles that are indicated on the sketch, I'll be adding the 2 butterfly die cut pieces. And then I have this fun little glitter banner that has a sentiment and a little piece of twine on the very end with a bow. Now they are separate, so the sentiment will swing down, but I decided to glue them together. And this is a Thinking of You sentiment. I popped up both of the butterflies using the foam dimension that's included in the kit. And as you can see, I put all of those elements on the left side, and that's because the sentiment banner has the fishtail on the right. If I would have put everything on the right side, it would have looked off balance. Just for a little extra detail, I'm adding a small banner in the upper right hand corner. I used that same solid colored cardstock and cut the fishtail myself. Then to finish up the card, I'll add a few of the gold mix gem stickers. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For the second sentiment, I have No One Like You. For card design number 7, I won't be using a card sketch this time. I have a scallop rectangle die cut for the background. I cut that out from some black cardstock, and I'll add the pattern paper in the center. And this is a fun pattern paper. It has lots of women, different skin tones and hair colors. And I like that the images are nice and small, so it works well for a card. So I'll glue those two pieces together. Then I'll add one of the die cut frames. There was that inside piece, and I believe I used that on the first card. I'm putting some double-sided tape on the back side of this frame. This would be perfect to create a little shaker window, but I won't be for this card. So remove the release paper, and then I'll add some vellum. So you're still able to see the images through the vellum, but it adds a very muted look. Now I'll put some thin foam strips on the back side. So again, this would be perfect for a shaker, but I decided I didn't want a shaker on this card. And since it's not a shaker, I don't have to have all that foam touching. It was okay to have a few little gaps there. I'll adhere it more in the lower right-hand corner, so you can see those faces through that vellum. Then I'll add several other die cut pieces. I have a circle that has that nice gold frame along the outside. There's a white heart in the center. I'll also add a peach colored heart in the center of the white heart, and I did pop up that peach heart with some thin foam squares. Then I'll add the sentiment together. Put those foam squares just on the very outside edges where it goes off of that peach heart. So this card does have a little more dimension than some of my other cards. Remove the release paper and put some liquid adhesive in the center. Then for a final finishing touch, I'll add a couple of the gold heart ephemera pieces. Put two of them in the upper left-hand corner. And the second heart I did pop up using a thin foam square. So there's my finished card, and I did make two using this design. For card design number 8, this is going to be a very pink card. I have the pink gingham paper for the background, and then also the white and pink heart pattern paper for this smaller rectangle. I'll layer everything on some pink cardstock, but on that gingham, I'll first layer it on some white shimmer cardstock, and this is cardstock I have on hand. It adds just that little bit of shimmer along the outside edge. Then I'll put my card front onto a card base. And since there is quite a bit of white in the background, I won't have any of the white card base showing on this card. Next, I'll add a thin strip of the gold mirror cardstock that's included in the kit, putting some double-sided tape on the back. Now before I adhere it in place, I will put those scrap pieces of cardstock where it goes off of the heart paper. So just putting a very small piece on the left and a little wider piece on the right side. Put some liquid adhesive where I have that cardstock and then adhere it to the card. For this sentiment, I'll be using the die set that's included in the kit. There's several different banners. I cut out the one that has the tiny little circles all along the outside, and then there's a smaller banner piece and two different sentiments. So for my card, I'm using Fill Today with Love. Put some double-sided tape on the back of this piece, and then I'll add it onto some gold mirror cardstock. That way all the letters will have that pretty gold shine. I trimmed down that gold banner just slightly, but I still had a little tiny bit showing, so I'm just using my scissors to trim that away. Then I'll put liquid adhesive on the back of this piece and add it to the larger tag. Before adhering it to the card, I will add that scrap cardstock piece just on the lower area where it'll go underneath that gold strip across the card. On the left side of the sentiment, I'll be adding one of the die cut pieces, this beautiful floral piece. And I did put some foam tape on the back side. I left a gap where it'll be touching those tags or banners. And then I'll adhere it to the card. And the flowers have that beautiful gold outline. Next, I'll add a bow over that hole on the top of the tag. This is some twine I have on hand. It's pink and white. And I decided to do a double bow. So I'll just trim the tails. I'll put a small glue dot on the back side and press it into that hole on top of the tag. See, there's lots and lots of pink on this card. Then to finish up the card, I'll add a few of the sequins. Put one to the right of the sentiment and two in the lower left-hand corner. And I'm laughing as I'm doing this voiceover because in that upper left-hand corner on the screen, you can see my glue dots just slipping. So I don't remember what I had them sitting on. It's kind of weird watching them fall down on the screen. So there's my finished card, and I did make two using this design. For my final two cards, I'll be using the embossing folder of the month and also the card kit of the month. So I used this lovely heart rainbow embossing folder, and I love this size. So you could use this for pretty much any size card. I used some of the blue cardstock that's included in the kit for the background and just glued it onto my card base. Then I'll add several die cut pieces from the card kit. This large tag with pink gingham and a pretty floral design at the very bottom. And I have the two hot air balloons. Those are really fun. Also have a little heart banner. So I put that down in the upper left-hand corner, and I'll be popping up all the other ephemera pieces. The sentiment is "You lift me up," so that goes perfectly with hot air balloons. Glue the blue outline balloon down first, and then the pink one second. For embellishments on the card, I'm using the gold glitter foam hearts. I'll put two to the right of the blue outline balloon and one in the lower left-hand corner. And I also decided to add a little bit of sparkle to the heart banner. So I'm using that clear glitter brush from scrapbook.com. So there's my finished card, and I did make two using this design. Now moving on to card design number 10, and this is my final card design. I have some white cardstock for the background using Catching Rays color ink from Catherine Pooler. I'll do some ink blending on the background, starting with the Catching Rays, and I'll bring in another color, making the color darker at the top and getting lighter down toward the bottom. Sort of looking like a sunset, but really just going for this fun yellow looking background. I'll also add a little bit of the Shea Butter ink color. So then I'll run this piece through my die cut machine using the January embossing folder of the month. And then we'll do some fun gold paint splatter on the background. And the gold looks really dark in the video, but it doesn't look as dark once it dries. Once the gold paint was dry, I also spritzed that background with some water. So now I have this really fun background with the yellow and the gold and all those hearts. I'll add a strip of the white cardstock, and this is from the card bases, just putting it toward the lower area of the card. And I do have some double-sided tape on the back side. I cut it just slightly too long, so I just flipped over that panel to trim it off. For a little extra shine, I'll add a Love from Lizi peel off. This is the clear gold mirror color in the medium size. Then I'll put adhesive on the back side and layer this panel on some white shimmer cardstock. And I did put some extra ATG tape on the back since this is an embossed panel. Now I can put my card front onto a card base. Then I'll bring in several of the die cut pieces. It's amazing how many die cut pieces are included in the card kits. I have two pieces that look like fireworks. There's a pink and also a blue with some gold. There's a circle sentiment that's love, and then also an adorable pink card that has two little balloons tied to the mirror. Put the car in the lower right hand corner. For the blue firework, I glued it down directly, and then I'm popping up the pink firework. And I used the thicker foam tape for the love sentiment. I'll add several of the sequins, 2 around those circles in the upper left-hand corner and 1 to the right of the pink car. Really pressing those in place and trying to place them between the embossed hearts. Then a few finishing touches. I used some of the glitter brush and put it in the center of the fireworks. And I'm also adding some glossy accents to the lights on the pink car. And then a little glitter on the 2 balloons. So there is my finished card. This one was so fun, a little different than what I would normally make. Now here's a quick recap of the 20 cards I made using Spellbinders January 2022 Card Kit and also Embossing Folder Club of the Month. The theme for the card kit is Truly, Madly, Deeply. I will have links provided in the description box if you are interested in signing up for any of Spellbinders club kits. They have quite a few. They also have some value memberships. You can join more than one club at a discount. The Embossing Folder Club Kit is brand new for 2022, and I think it'll be really fun. Spellbinders also has some extra pieces from their kits. Sometimes it's the paper or the die cut packs, maybe the stickers, and I will have a link if you want to check those out. All of those are available without subscribing. If they have extra kits from previous months, they also sell those individually. So if you just want to try one out, that's always a great option before you sign up and subscribe. I really enjoyed using their card kits last year, and now this year I'll have the card kit, the embossing folder, and also the large die of the month. And I'll have that video coming very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.